Hello, my name's Miss McDonald and I'm Head of Geography at Richard Challoner. In this presentation, I'm going to be talking you through some of the ideas and the structure of the course that we study in geography. So, why on earth wouldn't you study geography? The geography course is made up of three components: Unit 1, Unit 2 and Unit 3. Unit 1 focuses on global geographical issues and makes up 37.5% of the overall exam. Topic 1 in Unit 1 is hazards. In this topic, we investigate formation of earthquakes, we look at tsunamis, we look at the impacts of hazard events, so both weather and tectonic. We think about how different places in different regions might be affected. We then also look at how those hazards can be mitigated and we can prevent hazards becoming as bad. Topic 2 then looks at development dynamics. This is where we start to investigate inequalities in countries around the world. We think about why some countries might be lacking in development, some of the reasons for poverty. And in this topic, we focus specifically on India. How, as that country emerges into a developed nation, it has increased amounts of global trade, increased amounts of globalization. What is that doing to the structure of the country? How is that changing the country for the people, the landscape, and the environment? The final component of Unit 1 is looking at urban environments. Here we focus on squatter settlements, we look at megacities, we look at where people are distributed, we look at where people live, and this all culminates in a case study of Lagos. We refer to it as a dynamic city due to its changes, its challenges, and the impacts that those challenges pose for the future generations of Lagos. Unit 2 is looking at UK geographical issues and is the same weighting as Paper 1. This whole paper focuses on the UK, and we split it up into UK physical and UK human. The UK physical looks at geology, so how glaciers and volcanoes have worked together to shape and change the country that we live in. We then look at coastlines, how they form, how the landforms vary, the change, the impact, and then also how coastlines are managed. We do a similar thing with rivers, where we look at the landforms, how they form, flooding, the impact that flooding then has. The UK human geography focuses on population change and migration. So actually, how has the UK's population changed over the last 50 years? Where are people coming from? Where are people going to? We look at the impact globalisation and industrial change has had in the UK, so thinking about regions towards maybe the north of England that were known predominantly for manufacturing. How have they changed? Why have they changed? We then focus a case study on urban challenges in London. So what is happening in London at the moment? What challenges do those regions face? So finally, paper 3 is my favourite paper at Geography GCSE, and this is a decision-making paper. The paper has 3 topics: population and the global biosphere, where we look at the impacts of global population growth. What does it have on resources? How are those resources under threat? What is the impact of overpopulation? We look at forests under threat, so we focus on 2 different forests. We look at the tropical rainforest and how important it is globally, so for our weather, climate, local resources, education. We then focus on the taiga forest and how globally important it is. The rainforest is often seen as the lungs of the earth, but if you look at the size of the rainforest compared to the taiga or taiga forest, sometimes also known as the boreal forest, you'll notice that the boreal forest is much bigger. Therefore, which is more important? We then think about how forests can be used sustainably as well. The final part of Unit 3 is energy resources. So where does our energy come from globally? How does that availability differ? What does that mean for prices, for people, for regions, for populations? And then finally, we look at unconventional energy sources. So where do we get our energy from? Where are we going to get it from in the future? A range of different question styles, so source-based questions, short and extended answers, decision-making exercise. In our paper 3 and across the whole geography course, there are no essays. At Key Stage 3, something we have worked quite a lot with the students is using PEAL, so point, evidence, explanation and link. PEJE, so point, evidence, judgment, explanation. We're really fortunate in geography that we get to go on a field trip. So this field trip is a 2-day field trip down to Dorset. We spend one day looking at the physical geography of the region. We look at groins, we look at beach profiles, we think about wave direction, we think about movement of sediment. We then also do questionnaires to look at how people use the area. So again, it links back so nicely to those topics that we do in the UK Physical for Coasts. The students get to have a residential stay. So we travel down on one day, we then stay overnight. And then on the second day, we look at doing human geography. Again, links to our UK human geography. And we research two different areas of Bournemouth. We look at how they are different. So how does Boscombe vary to Queen's Park? How is the deprivation different in those areas? What are the councils doing to manage that level of deprivation? So these are just some photos from our field trip from last year. The students get a lot out of these field trips as it gives them an opportunity to see the geography that they've been studying in the classroom in real life. And we find this really consolidates their learning. Why geography? Geographers have such a broad and diverse range of skills, whether it is analysing a graph, analysing a map, analysing a photograph, whether it is reading a table and being able to interpret data, whether it is analysing a piece of text, whether it is analysing a map, whatever it may be, geographers do it all. It's the perfect balance between the arts and the science. You get that sense of being able to do written work, but then also you get that real opportunity to dig your teeth into some statistics and data. I also find it helps students to understand just the world around us. How do human impacts change the physical environment? What can be done in the future to change that? We also look at how interconnected the world is, and I think geography gives students a real appreciation for people, place, and environments around the world. They have a better understanding of why situations happen in the world and the way that they do. They develop teamwork through their fieldwork. They look at decision making, problem solving. They have all sorts of different skills that they have to build on as a team. It's also inquiry-based learning. So our whole geography philosophy at Rich Challoner is looking at inquiry. So all our lessons through Key Stage 3 have questions and they will have to answer those questions. This means that the question is given and the students have to find out that information, obviously with guided teaching, but they are investigating their learning and it's interesting. It's such an interesting and broad and balanced subject. So I find geography such an important subject for students to study at GCSE. They're of an age where they are starting to form their own ideas and opinions about the world. And for them to have that through a really global lens, to be able to understand how the people in the world work alongside with the environment and the impact they might be having on that, positively or negatively, I find is so important. So I always like to think geography, helping you to understand today's problems and to be able to form tomorrow's global solutions. Thank you.